I'm going to be talking today about mission, vision, and core values and what that has to do with planning our game. And what I'm going to do is give you a definition of terms. I'm going to give you an illustration, and then I'm going to apply it to the church world. So here we go. Definition of terms. The way I'm using these terms, the mission is the big picture. It's the overarching theme of what we're talking about. The vision is a compelling picture of the future. If we lived out that mission in the next 3 to 5 years, that's what it would look like. I'm calling that the vision. The third thing is core values. Core values are going to talk about how we live that out and some boundaries and guidelines that impact that. So, quick definition of terms. Now, let me give you an illustration. NASA, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, their mission is a big picture. It's to explore space. That's huge. That's a thing that we've been doing since sometime in the 40s and 50s. Explore space is their mission statement. Now, vision statement, what does that mean? What's an application of that? In the late 1950s, early 1960s, they decided that they were going to put a man on the moon. And so when President Kennedy stood up and said, "We will put a man on the moon," that was a vision that fit within the context of the mission statement. The mission said, "We will explore space. Here's what that's going to look like in the next few years. We will put a man on the moon." They also had some core values that guided some of their decision-making and processes. And they were things like, we're going to be safe. And that's why they have backup systems to their backup systems. And then they also said we're going to have a balanced budget. That was another core value. Another core value was in the process of doing the research, they wanted to develop material that would be applicable to society in general. They had some other things, but those are some examples of core values. So now let's apply this to the church world. What does that have to do with us as a church? Number one, in the church world, if you are a Bible-believing evangelical church, we believe that the Great Commission is our mission. Churches very appropriately take plenty of time to think about and create ways to say that, but in essence, the bottom line is we are here to try to reach lost people for Jesus Christ and to grow believers up into their faith. And so that is the Great Commission, and that's the big picture mission. Now, in our vision statement, which is the second thing, well, how do we apply that? In our church world, we need to ask the question, what would it look like in our church if we lived out that mission? What does it look like in our context, with the resources we have, with the people we have, the community in which we live, etc.? So the vision, one of the ways to get at the vision is through defining a target audience. A church that I've recently been working with defined their target audience as families with children living at home. They did that because in their community they discovered 60% of the people were from single families or blended parent families, and within the church they had resources of strong families, good parenting, good grandparenting skills, and so they felt like God could use them in that community to make that difference. So the vision that they created started looking like children's ministry, student ministry, what it looked like to do marriage training and equipping, parenting, worship services that are designed for whole families, intergenerational things. And they began to apply that to their programming because their vision looked like that as they lived out their mission. So in the context of your church, how would you live out the mission to which God has called you? That's the question that is answered when you describe your vision. And then the last piece is core values. What are the core values? What are the things that are going to guide you and be boundaries for you? So in our world, being biblical is a boundary. We're not going to do programming and ministries and things that are outside of the boundaries of God's Word. Another thing is we want to be people of prayer. We want to pray about things. And so there's a church that I know of that has some questions they ask when an initiative gets brought to their staff or to their board, and they ask, have we prayed about this? How have we prayed about it? And how much have we prayed about it? That's a core value for them to spend time in prayer, seeking the mind of God about those things. Other core values might include something around the issue of excellence. Some churches will, like for example, you've probably seen Willow Creek's statement about excellence. Well, there's another set of churches that have a different core value related to that, and it would be the core value of involvement. Some churches might say we would rather have people involved in larger numbers than to worry about excellence. And our core value is to involve everybody in something, and therefore we're not as concerned about excellence. You need to decide what are your core values, what are the things that drive you in reaching the audience you're trying to reach. Another one is being culturally relevant while remaining doctrinally pure. There's a lot of different core values that you might pick up on that help guide you and put some boundaries on how you're going to go about doing that. Now, one last thought. In the context of doing this, there needs to be some kind of a commitment to team. In order to have an effective team, we must learn to speak the truth in love. Not avoid the elephant in the room and not be attacking and judgmental, but speak the truth in love. And here's my last statement. When we get united around a common mission, a common vision, and common core values in the context of a compatible community, we can be used by God to do great things. I hope you have a great time at the Game Plan Conference. God's blessings to you. We'll be in touch.